What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I'm your host, the Dad Bod God, the Bald, the Beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight, I'm excited. We've got John Bernard Kairouz on the show tonight, and I'm excited to have John Bernard on. We're going to get into a great conversation, but before we get into it, you know what? Need to take a quick second to tell you about Sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS, Sleefs.com. If you or someone you would know is an athlete, you need to go and check out Sleeps. They've got all your athletic wear and gear covered. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, headbands, boots, mouth guards, and they've even got those dirty boxes that you always hear me raving about. These dirty boxes are the most comfortable boxes that I own. They stay dry, they stay fresh, and they've got funky designs on the front of them to keep that special person in your life giggling when the belt buckle comes undone at the end of the night, if you know what I mean. But guys, go and check out those dirty boxes at Sleeps. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Also, wherever you're tuning in, I appreciate it. If you're tuning in on YouTube, please make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. I appreciate it. If you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. It helps with our analytics. It helps us reach a broader audience, and it helps us bring more amazing conversations to more amazing people like you guys. So get to clicking, get to doing all that shit for us. I appreciate it. But without further ado, let's get in to my conversation with John Bernard Kairouz. Boom, we're live. Thank you for joining Shooting the Shit Uncensored tonight. John Bernard Kairouz, welcome.
Mate, pleasure to be on. Unbelievable intro, mate. You couldn't tell that you got a husky voice from cutting the best promos in Sydney, but no, mate, thank you for having me on. It's awesome. Great to, meet some fellow wrestling diehards in Sydney.
Yeah, man, absolutely, bro. And that's kind of like where you and I sort of met at the FWA show. You were there to ring announce, and Fivey messaged me and goes, "Hey, have you heard of this guy?" I said, "Yeah, he's a comedian. He's really funny. Interesting dude though, because I saw the stuff about you in the news, and we'll get into that later on. But man, like, how did you get involved to be part of that show?"
Mate, funnily enough, Daniel Vito is overseas. And when I went to Florida, probably at the end of 2020, I kind of hit him up just to catch an NXT show while we were over there in Orlando, and kind of just get on through social media with him and Danny or Harley, who was on the show, and she was promoting the show on Instagram. She's been on AEW Dark, and she's been getting into the wrestling scene lately, carving it up. And I saw she was promoting the show, and I just messaged her. I'll be like, I'd love to be involved, as an announcer. I really want to do ultimately, I want to do a sketch of me going through a table, or someone put me through a table. I just think that would be really funny. And I just said, yeah, I'd love to be involved, maybe do a few things. And she's like, oh, I'll mention it to the promoter. And the FWA ended up messaging me saying, oh, we need an announcer. You can? It was like maybe the day of or the day before. I was like, yeah, I'll be there. And I trekked it from Manly over to 5 Dock and tried my best, knocked it out.
Was that the first time that you done that sort of thing?
I've done a little bit of announcing previously, not in that sense. I wouldn't mind being like a caller or a backstage, like a Kathy Kelly or the OG Michael Cole. But first time, like, being in control of the show, announcing people's where they're from, their ring name, weight, stuff like that. Yeah, it was probably like my first full show for sure.
Yeah. And how did you find it? Is it something that you want to do like more of?
I don't think I've got the gift of a natural like announcing voice. Like how JoJo or whoever's doing the Justin Roberts. They got to be like, good singers or like have a good regal voice for announcing. I don't think I have that, but like commentary, backstage promos with wrestlers, I reckon I could do. Ultimate goal, Pierce, is obviously be working with WWE in some aspect, but like I said, being put through the Spanish announce table, like Pat McAfee right now is living everyone's dream. You start off on commentary, then maybe you get a WrestleMania moment. That's where you want to be.
Yeah. Pat McAfee, I think, like when he turned up in NXT and like he wrestled Adam Cole, he wrestled out wrestled, I should say, the entire NXT locker room and probably like most of the main roster at that point. Like what he went out there and did for a first timer doing that, that was impressive shit.
Like Logan Paul level type stuff. I mean, he's a natural, like I don't think he's like an unbelievable athlete, but he's just like, picked good spots and he's entertaining. Like, so he's actually like he's good on the mic. So I think, like I used to play a bit of rugby league. So I think I could be a bit, can transfer over into the ring. Not that I've ever done, and I've never taken any bumps, but I reckon I could give it a crack.
Hey man, you're young enough. Like, how old are you? Like 25, 26?
Yeah, 25.
Oh, bro, go and do it. And you know what? Like, you've got a identical twin brother as well. So like,
it's a perfect tag team. We're really pitching like, let's just do a twin magic. We'll have a tag team match on an Australian show, but it's we want to be in Florida soon enough.
But like, talking about being a twin, man, like growing up, because like you guys are identical twins, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like I remember like before the show, I was like seeing you like in your suit and stuff, and then it was like next minute I'm like, fuck man, this guy gets casual really quick.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Yeah. But like, dude, like growing up as a twin, how did you find it? Did you ever feel like your identity as an individual was kind of like tossed to the side almost, and it's like, oh, it's the twins?
No, not really. I mean, like we had our own separate set of mates. We're pretty close, but I mean, like we just get confused for each other a lot walking in an elevator. People always just, the question is, "Oh, you guys twins?" And we get that a lot, and it's kind of fun now because we use it to our advantage in like videos and just a couple of pranks and stuff like that. But no, growing up was really easy. Like it's us two, and then I got 3 other brothers, so we're all kind of like close, tight knit, and we're all massive wrestling fans. So we pass the time really easy.
So did they come to attendance? Like, did all your brothers come and see you at FWA that night? No,
it was just with Nick at the time, but we kind of videoed some stuff, and then we shot some stuff after with Xena, and they kind of got around that. So, but they're all like, they all get around what Nick and I do. So, and we're probably gonna add to the stable, start our own little bloodline.
Yeah, nice, man, nice. Because you know what, like I did start seeing like a lot of your content out there, and like one of the ones I saw recently was the one where you're like going around and you're blocking your eyes, like going up to women is like, hey, is it okay if I stare at you from afar? Like I just need to get consent. And to me, I felt like that was the funniest shit because it really represents like almost like what society is, where it's like, oh, you've got to be like ask permission just to look in a direction now.
Mate, yeah, that was the gist of the bit was at the time there was a bar in Darlinghurst that was making a rule that people need to ask for consent for unwanted staring. And we're like, that is the stupidest rule. How the hell are you going to police that? You're going to start kicking people out for looking in a direction? Like, it was just a dumb, that where society, like you said, like where society is at. Let's try and put a rule on something so stupid. So we went out as soon as maybe the next night after that rule was announced, because there was some news buzz around, and we're like, let's just go ask chicks for consent if we can look at them. It just sounds stupid. And that video did pretty well. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
But like, what was the most ridiculous reaction that you got from someone? Like, was there anything like insane that stood out to you that night?
I mean, everyone was like surprisingly, many of the women were very friendly. They were like, I think they took it seriously. Like they're going, yeah, okay, you can stare at me if you like, but it was kind of really awkward. But then I feel like once they kind of got a gist of what we were doing, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, fair enough. But no, there was no, wasn't. It was fairly friendly crowd. Like I said, I'm probably you've probably seen a few of my stuff, and like over the
Yeah,
last year, it's been pretty polarizing. But like every time I film out in public, I don't get much negative, I don't get negative vibes from anyone or anyone coming up to me saying, I don't like this or this. It's more so comments online. In person, everyone's your best mate.
yeah, 100%. Everyone's going to be like your best friend when it comes face to face with it. But like for you, like with doing these like online pranks, and you see a lot of like international pranksters doing certain stuff where it's like going into like a hood neighborhood and throwing up gang signs or fucking staring down fucking, cholo gangsters. Have you ever gone down that route of like where something could have turned violent towards you at any point?
No, I've probably been pretty selective when it comes to like the prank stuff. Maybe like the post of doing a video and someone reaches out and says, oh, could you not put that out? Which you kind of feel a bit bad for. But I mean, you're in public, you're filming, it's all for a bit. Like you don't want to embarrass anyone too badly.
Sure.
But I don't know, not to a point where like we were just in Qatar recently for the World Cup, and we were just kind of like pushing the envelope, see how far we could go, because they were very strict on like filming in public and stuff like that. But again, it was pretty safe. People were making out it was a lot scarier than it was, and we just wanted to see how far we can take it. And like, it's probably not a staple of always just doing pranks. It's a thing that we can do from time to time. Like you said, like we do the consent one, or mic'd up, at a nightclub or stuff like that. But we do like kind of sketches. We do a lot of interview stuff, a lot of podcast type stuff as well. And just general kind of like comedy skits on there too. So we try and mix it up. But yeah, the pranks are fun to do because I find it easy to like keep a straight face for the bit, knowing that the payoff will be good if it's good online. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Have you ever like put out a bit of content where you thought like, okay, this is going to be like really fire, it's going to get like a lot of clicks, and it just like gets nothing?
Oh, 100%. Especially, I feel like when you put the most work in for a video, and that's when you're expecting something big or like a good reception, and then it doesn't go too well, and then you got the shits for a couple of days, all the way until, it's just a consistency thing all the way until your next banger. But alternatively, I kind of feel like I know now which videos are going to do well. One time in the lead up to the Australian election, we went out and we were dressed as every volunteer for every party, and we're handing out flyers. This was like another like public prank that we did. And I knew from the reactions that we got from people at the polling places that whatever we put out was going to do well. So it's like I've been doing it long enough now, probably about a year and a half, almost 2 years, where like I kind of got a general gist of, okay, yeah, this will do well.
So like initially like what started like and got you a lot of attention was like releasing the COVID numbers prior to the government, like a day beforehand. Was that your first start of content, or was just that this thing that really hit for you?
It wasn't my first start. I was for about I was probably making the page was up for about maybe 3 or 4 months. And I had around like maybe 70,000-80,000 followers on TikTok and about 10,000 followers on Instagram. But the numbers was definitely something that, like, doing the COVID numbers, like, catapulted exposure and being seen. I was on morning news shows. Like the videos on TikTok were getting a lot of views, and Instagram, and the following went up massively. And then it was trying to like maintain that following. Post doing the numbers was a bit of a challenge at the time. But yeah, definitely it was for exposure. The numbers was massive. But prior to that, I was doing skits, pretty much what I do now. I was doing a lot of vox pop, street interviews, which everyone can do. It's not overly difficult, but that was just, especially early TikTok days, that was stuff that was pretty rewarding for your account. But I was having fun doing it. I was acting a little bit. I was doing like TV commercials, and I was doing a sketch comedy web series It was a live comedy show, then turned into, like, when COVID came, it turned into a YouTube sketch show where I played like a in the field, news anchor type person.
Yeah.
And those videos that we're putting out online, we're getting a bit of traction in terms of views. So yeah, I've been doing it for a while, but just definitely got really lucky with doing the COVID numbers, and that whole span of releasing those numbers definitely put me on the map. But it was fun in general, and probably, without doing that, it would probably take me longer to get where I am now in terms of social media following.
Did you ever like get contacted by someone from the government when you were releasing the numbers, like saying, "Hey, John, shut the fuck up"? Like, was there ever like, "Hey, get in the trunk"?
Yeah, it wasn't a get in the trunk. It was more of a like phone call, because at the time you're giving your number out to all these producers from your your 7 morning shows, your Today shows. So your numbers getting out there, your phone number, and we got a call from New South Wales Health at the time saying it's in your best interest if you stop putting out the number, like the COVID numbers. I was like, yeah, no worries, no worries. And then from like maybe there was like a 2-day span or 3-day span after that where I'd never actually said the number. I was like, I got someone else to say it. Like I'd get my brother to say it, or like just as a G up. Like I didn't really care if I had said it or not, but we just try to like creatively be like, one day Stephen Hawking said it in a fake interview, so yeah, we kind of mixed it up.
But like, you're starting to do that, I think, like, because you had the whole nation probably going, "How the fuck does this guy know this?" It's like, I think there was one like rumor like you were this brainiac scientist and you were like calculating the population due to like the square meterage, and like someone was trying to explain it to me, and I'm like, nah, man, this guy just looks like one of the boys from the area, man. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, to this day, like, it depends. We just got back. So we just got back from the World Cup, so I still get stopped now saying, "Oh, what's COVID numbers? What's COVID numbers?" You know what I mean? But like when I have a piece of content that pops off, the chat will definitely be around that. Like, "Oh, welcome back from Qatar" or something like that. But even now, still, it's been almost a year on. Almost a year and a half, and I'll still get the numbers guy. You know what I mean? So it was at a time where everyone was in lockdown. The only thing people were watching was the news to see the numbers at 11 a.m. every morning. So yeah, I didn't really realize how prominent it was until we got out of lockdown, and all these people saying, "Oh, you're the TikTok guy that was releasing the numbers." So yeah, no, it was such a fun thing to do, and it kind of got me in a bit of hot water. With court, but I mean, like, it was definitely worth it in the end, and it was just funny to do.
How did you work out the numbers though? Like, did you have someone like working in the like New South Wales Health? Did you have a link somewhere?
I never directly knew anyone that worked for New South Wales, and that's not even me covering my bases from a legal thing. I never knew anyone in there. To this day, I say it's just cold hard maths. Just my brothers, the Kairouz probability theorem. It just never faltered.
Come on, man. Like, you can't be putting it down to maths, bro. Because it's like, why wouldn't like tons of other people be coming up with this shit? There has to be something more to it.
I mean, there was a point there where a few other people were putting the numbers out as well, and they were probably getting it right too. But I think we just got to a point where a lot of people were just coming to our page to see if we were getting it right, and then we also put a bit of production behind it. Maybe that's the wrestling in me. Like, let's make a promo out of it.
But you know what? It'd be pretty funny if the government then decided to go and work the public and just was like, you know what, let's just say his number is correct.
What's also funny? It was through a proxy. So through someone who was repping me, was the government, like, I got like a proposition to say, "Hey, do you want to announce the numbers in the morning at the Daily Note? But you have to promote. If you do it, you'd have to promote, like, staying indoors and get your vaccine and stuff like that." And I was just like, it'd be like turning heel at that point, like I just join the McMahon stable.
But did you so you were against the vaccine? You were against the lockdown and everything?
I was never against the vaccine. No, I mean, like I why I did get in trouble at the time was, I didn't, like I said, I didn't, because I did that numbers in like a week span, and I obviously grown in popularity, and then off the back of that, there was a protest in Sydney, for lockdowns. There was a lockdown protest, and at the time, like my old man runs a small business, so my parents were going, and I just like, what, I'll tag along, and I didn't realize. How popular the numbers thing was. I know it was all over the news, but like I had people coming up to me at the protest taking photos, and stuff like that. And then me being there and saying something there, because I was asked to kind of just say a few words, like really impromptu. I don't know. It was taken in a very negative light at the time. Now I don't think really anyone gives a fuck, because everyone's kind of over lockdown, very over COVID in general anyway. But it was more so really just hated lockdowns because we were just too deep into lockdown of being inside your 5 kilometer radius and just going for walks around the park. It was like a prison. But no, I never came out and said anything against the vaccine or anything like that. But it was more just the initial lockdown.
I think the lockdown to me was like, it felt so extreme. And it's like when we saw the protests happening, and I think probably the reason why you got a lot of heat from the protest was the fact that police would then got bombarded with like ink bombs and, you know what I mean, like debris and shit like that. And that was like heavily spread across international media, whereas like people like the dude punching out a fucking horse, you know what I mean? Like that was that sort of shit. And then there's like you standing there with a megaphone, like,
Yeah,
like
I definitely got probably tied into the whole emotion of it. But I mean, like I said, there was probably 30,000+ people there, and then the media go and report that there was like 3,000, 3.5. Like no one believes that, but there was a lot of normal everyday people there that were just like, no, we're in a kind of free society. We shouldn't be like told, you just have to stay at home, don't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, and looking back on it, I feel like, the whole narrative's kind of changed. No one would go into a lockdown again. It's seen as like, I don't know, it's seen as kind of like useless. I don't think it was that effective. You got news.com articles now saying, if you look at Sweden or you look at places elsewhere, it's like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that. And a lot of like journalists and news presenters have kind of changed their tune, because I think in China, there's a lot, they've kind of just forced people into another one. And now they're praising lockdown protesters in China. So it's like, where was this praise? See, how come I didn't get my praise for going to protest, 12 months ago? No, but it's kind of shifted. And for me, it was like for where I was at from like trying to be a comedian, a presenter.
Yeah.
It was definitely a big hit because, it's polarizing. I've never been to a protest in my life. I don't even generally like politics. I like making fun of politicians.
Same
the fact that it was so politicized was crazy. And I mean, it's nice that now that no one, the time kind of passes and no one really cares. But at the time, you're getting hit up by all these brands. Oh, let's do this. And management people want to say, oh, we like your stuff online, to shunned from like society, and you're getting death threats and stuff, which again, like I said, I mean, I've got a good family. Like I wouldn't pay too much attention to all that, but it was so funny to go from the highs of, everyone's watching in the country, keep it up, keep it going, to we hate you. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like a little heel turn. And I got to say, I agree with Randy Orton and, some of the GOAT heels. It's fun to be a heel sometimes.
But like the death threats, man, like what sort of death threats? Were there people like coming past your house throwing bricks and shit?
No,
or like,
it was more just like, I hope you die, kill yourself. Like it just, and it was from the most random places too. Like you're getting like Facebook messages, and you don't even look at your Facebook account anymore, but you still get, I was getting messages on like Star Now, or like something like, my Instagram message requests were just full of like people spraying, or comment sections. They would go through like old posts and just start and commenting stuff. But and that kind of stuck around for the remainder of the year. Like I remember I went to America on a trip at the end of 2020. and it was just the same. It was like, probably the following was declining, was still getting a lot of the same comments, like, you know, just negative comments. But yeah, I mean, it's just funny now. It's like an afterthought. It's really surpassed.
I mean, I think like for like the fact that it has been able to surpass as well, like because I feel like you kind of were just like a victim of circumstance, really. Like you were in a bad situation at a bad time,
Oh
and
man, I take
you had
like,
a following, you know.
yeah, like full accountability. Like I could have definitely not gone.
Yeah.
Like it's as simple as that. But at the end of the day, like there's far worse things that I could have done. But at the time, no one really knew what kind of was going on anyway. Like in terms of COVID and lockdowns, and it was all pretty new to us. So I don't know. I won't say I regret it, because you learn from everything. But
Sure, sure.
it's definitely a learning experience.
Well, I think as well, like, I said after the last lockdown, said if they put us in a lockdown again next year, which would have been this year, I think we'll go from protest to having like full blown riots like they were having in the United States. I think there would have been fucking looting and fucking everything in the streets.
Yeah.
I think you would have been fucking barring up your windows at your houses, because I think that was probably the next step from that, man. Like,
Yeah.
from what we saw.
Yeah, man, we had it like Melbourne was the most locked down city in the world. Like that in itself is crazy. Like Canada had it pretty bad. It was just, I like you said, the measures were probably a bit too extreme. Like really, like did we need a curfew? Like what are we, like prison? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's stuff like that probably had no basis in science. That was getting pushed onto us. It didn't really make sense. But I mean, like I said, I don't really like talking politics too much, but at the time, it was the only thing that we could talk about. There was nothing on. There was no, like it was a sport was an afterthought. It was just morning, noon, and night. It's like, what's the numbers? How long are we in lockdown for? When are we out of lockdown? And it was the only thing people were making content about. It was the only thing people were consuming. So it was like, how could you not address it, or like, have an opinion on it?
I think that the one industry that boomed the most during like the pandemic would have been like the OnlyFans industry and the porn, you know what I mean? Like the porn industry.
Yeah,
And like, let's face it, a lot of content creators as well like came from the pandemic.
100%. A lot of content creators. Funnily enough, like I was working at BWS in the marketing team over there, and it was like the business was booming for them, because that was liquor was definitely an essential service during the pandemic, because you need alcohol. So I mean, that in itself was a bit funny, and that was one of the industries that was booming. Liquor, OnlyFans creators were probably making bank, and a lot of content creators, like a lot of people. If you talk to a few creators, like, oh, it's a thing I just started during lockdown, and it kind of just carried on after. Yeah, so many people were doing that. And like I said, I probably got the most exposure Australia wide during that time. So yeah, it was definitely a funny time.
But like, as far as like getting this exposure now, like opportunities to go to like obviously the World Cup in Qatar, which you just went to, like how did that opportunity come about like for you?
Man, I'll probably put it down to like consistency. I enjoy making content. Like I have fun with doing it. It's now my full-time job. Like I left my, um, you know, not, I still work a 9 to 5 full time, but it's in content now for a betting company. So I kind of got out of marketing and accounting and into content. And, I was doing a little bit of writing and stuff beforehand, but now to do that all the time and try and think creatively or try and think of funny angles, I enjoy doing it. And I'd put it down to just always being consistent with the stuff. People seeing you regularly. Like TikTok's very much a volume thing, and just being seen more regularly. So I don't know. I had an opportunity to work with a marketing company and do some stuff with the Bulldogs, the NRL team. Did that. Did a couple of other little brand things, and then the World Cup being the most watched thing in the world over the last month, I just kind of pitched a few brands to say, you want someone on the ground. There's not many media companies that are going to be there. I think Sportsbet were there, and to SBS maybe. And I was like, it's an opportunity to get a lot of eyes on a brand or something like that. Pitched a few companies, and one of them was keen to send me over. And I kind of handled a lot of the production. I'd still do all my own editing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just it probably just consistency. And just I don't have a manager. I got, like I said, I got Nick, my brother, twin brother, and a couple of others, that we kind of just sort everything out on our end. And just kind of looking for the next opportunity.
But I think that's like the fact that you still like work with your brother as well, like kind of keeps you humble to a certain point, as like, you know what I mean? From getting like a big head and becoming like someone who's deflated, where you can still be
Yeah.
his brother and go, hey, dumbass, like, oh,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, get his point across or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, mate, you should see, like, I'll make a video, or I'll do something, and I'll QA it by like sending it to the boys, and they'll be like, "Don't do that shit. Like, that's not funny." And I'm like, "Okay, I thought that was good, but yeah, all right, fair enough." Like, there's definitely, like, having the boys, they're just as funny as I am. Like, this household is funny, and it's definitely a big help. I don't get burnt out as much as other people do. Like, speaking to other creators, but even just in general, the whole outlook on content creators is like you're a C list, you're a F list kind of thing. You're not on TV, but you get just as much as exposure as people on TV, or people might recognize you just as much more. But yeah, you can't really get a big head if you're on social media, especially if you're like trying to be a comedian on social media, because your whole point is taking the piss out of people on social media sometimes too, like influencers that take themselves too seriously. So
Yeah.
if you do that, you're kind of a hypocrite, So I don't know. I feel like you should always have time for people, because then if you get too much of a big head, then you become less funny. You should entertain all situations, because you don't know what will come out of it.
Oh, 100%, man. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I shared a meme the other day, and it was like a guy and a chick in a bar, and the guy's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And she's like, "I'm an Instagram model. What do you do?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm a soldier in Call of Duty." And I was like, that's the exact same shit. And I'm like, fuck, that's great.
Yeah. And like with the internet now, TV's slowly dying. Like, no one watches TV anymore. No one watches the news. People watch max reality TV shows and sport. And like the new medium is people scrolling on their phones, getting their 15-second videos now. And it's like you don't need to go through the mainstream channels anymore if I'm be a celebrity, or at the top of your field in presenting or anything. It's like a new avenue to get there. A lot of comedians now are coming up through social media, and yeah, people don't consume as much TV as they used to.
100%, man. Like, even like musicians as well are being discovered. And like, I can't tell you the last time I watched something on channel 7, 9, 10. Like, if it's not on Netflix, Hulu, or like whatever the fuck my wife has got a streaming service on, if it's not on that, I don't watch it. Like, I barely watch the news. If that, I'd just be like cruising to find something to watch, which is like, I can just, yep, all right, cool. I can sit there, watch it now, and I don't have to wait. Let's go.
100%. And everyone's getting their news from being on TikTok and Instagram anyway. If you're going to see something, it's going to be on someone's story. It's going to be talked about online straight away, like the A-League drama where they went nuts the other day in Melbourne. Like, that was just all over social media straight away. So it's becoming less of a consumed medium, TV. And there's so many different careers now online. Like you said, there's streamers, there's gamers, there's content creators, people doing this full time. Like, I don't think I'll be working for a company full time, in the next 12 months. I think I'll get to a point where I can eventually just pursue what I want to do full time in content. And like, as I said, like, eventually going to the States, being a content creator in the States, working for WWE. I just kind of want to achieve all these other things.
But that's the ultimate goal as a content creator, right? Is doing it for a living, where like this is what you are doing to make like a living full time. I think that's for anyone who takes it seriously, or like, content creators, podcasters, which I kind of feel like it's all wrapped into the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people, that's the ultimate goal, man. And to be able to sit there and say, hey, in 12 months, like, that's the next step. Good for you, man. That's a fucking massive step.
Yeah, nah, man. It's just like I feel like in Australia we're always like 6 months or 12 months behind what's happening in the UK and the States in terms of like uh what from a creator or even just anyone online. What's the opportunity here? There's not. It's well, you want a couple brand deals or you want to work with like there's it's very limited. There's like not that TV's gate kept. You could work for something as hard as you want and you'll eventually get it. But I just think there's limited opportunity, or it's still frowned upon to be like, oh yeah, it's just social media. You're on social media. Whereas in the States, in the UK, like, this guy's actually really entertaining or creating something. Let's get him on this. Let's
Mm.
let's push him in this direction, or like how can we work together in some way. So I feel like there's more opportunity overseas. So I think that's where I'll probably end up because like I said I enjoy doing this the most, like creating content online. I'm maybe just got, like I said, got lucky of finding like a boom, getting on TikTok in the period where where things go through an early phase, like getting on
Yeah.
Instagram early or Vine or something like that. So yeah, I've kind of just tried to build on that and see where it takes me. But yeah, it's just having fun with it still.
I think that's the main important thing, that you can still have fun with it. Because I think once you sort of start making a living at it, it then starts to become stressful because it's like, oh, now I
Yeah,
have to perform at this level. Like it's no longer just having fun with me and my brother and my buddies. It's like now it's like it has to be done.
100%. Yeah, and income and like that's another thing. I mean, like over the past years, working with brands, it diminishes the creativity or like the fun that you can have. And it's like I'm not the most creative bloke. I just try and come up with like punchlines or like
Mm.
just funny scenarios. But I mean, the if you pitch something one way and you have you want something to turn out one way, but then you got to send it through all these people to get approval, and then they got to take something out, and it probably doesn't end up how you first liked it. That's when it starts to become shit. It was like I had all this planned, and because I got to work with this company and they're the ones paying for everything, or like, you know,
Mm.
you're working with them,
Instead of the bill.
ultimately they have the final say. That's when it kind of becomes a bit shit. But look at the Pat McAfee route. There's so many people going down that route where it's just like he has ownership over his show. He does
Mm.
partnerships here and there with like a FanDuel, or he's got a partnership with the NFL. And he does like college game day, he does WWE. So there's definitely a route where you can maintain your own creativity, if you're willing to just work for yourself.
I agree, man. Like I think Pat McAfee is kind of living the ultimate dream, man. Like he has the freedom to say whatever the fuck he wants to say on his own show, talk to whoever he wants to talk to, and say whatever he wants to say to him, and then also get to be working with WWE on one of their bigger brands, and having these multiple opportunities. Is that kind of the road that you like? Is WWE for you like the goal of like where you want to work?
Mate, yeah, to be honest, I'll probably like the goal is to be like a Aussie Pat McAfee. Like like I say, he's living the dream. It gets to talk to me, but and he earns it because he works hard. He's always doing something. He's
Mm.
working nonstop, doing a 3 hour daily show, and then he's doing commentary. Then he's doing college game day. Like you got to you put in the work for it. But yeah, I mean, I reckon without a doubt, well, Triple H does like an NXT Australia or something. I'll probably be being a backstage announcer there. Yeah, something will align where I'll be affiliated with the WWE in some way, shape, or form.
That'd be pretty cool, man. But like, have you seen the new craze that is going on now that Dana White has brought into the slapping contest?
Yeah, I've only seen the clips on social media because they're fairly entertaining, those slaps. But I don't think that's got legs. It's not like a UFC or like a big promotion. It's funny. It's funny for bite-sized content to watch people slap the shit out of each other. But
Yeah,
is it going to fill stadiums?
I doubt it. I like to be honestly, I think after you've seen like the first two matches of like four people slapping the piss out of each other, like what else can you really expect to see?
Yeah, for sure. You know what's massive is esports. I'm working at a company called Picklebet, and they're an esports gambling company. And the
Mm.
amount of gambling that goes on in esports, and then also how
Is it
big it actually.
like fantasy football and shit, or
No,
like what?
no, like people playing FIFA or people playing CS:GO, um, 2K, and
Oh shit, video games and shit, right?
competitive video games. Like I reckon that's the next post sports boom. Like people are really tuning. It's massive in like Asia. It's big in the
Oh
US.
shit.
Yeah, yeah. I went to a convention in Melbourne for work. It's called DreamHack, and it's just like it's crazy how it's still like in that kind of nerd phase where it's kind of, but it is a big industry. And that's like it's. I think that's probably after sports. That's the next thing.
Do you see like guys losing fucking their ass in the esports and shit, like playing like they just have a bad day on the fucking Nintendo or the fucking PlayStation, whatever.
As in like the players or people betting.
Like the people, like so people are betting on the players. These aren't guys
Yeah,
like
people are betting. People are betting on games. Yeah.
no. Okay, I thought it was like the players who are like playing a game of like chess, like not chess, but like poker or something. But they're playing a video game instead of cards. And
No,
like,
no. So like you're an individual that plays FIFA, and
yeah,
you're
right.
versus another individual that plays FIFA. You got some funny like gamer tag name, and you're versing this guy. Competitive league, you get paid, big in Europe too,
Yeah.
and people are betting on the outcome of your game.
That's some fucking what, like, bro.
And like in a like massive amount, like not like it turns over like money.
Bro, I want to meet someone who fucking gambles on fucking video games and be like, man, you need to get, get a PlayStation, bro.
Mate, people will bet on anything these days.
That's some fucking wild shit, man. But that's the thing, like the gambling stuff, like I never understood how people can get addicted to gambling. I'm not sort of bagging it or anything, but like, man, I go into like a pokies or whatever it is, put 50 bucks in. If I lose, I'm like, oh, cool. I've lost 50 bucks, whatever. No harm, no foul. If I win, I go, great, whatever. But like, you know what I mean? I don't understand the appeal, how people can get hooked on something where it's like,
yeah, I agree with you. It's like there's a point where it goes from like being entertainment to probably being a problem. I've worked for 2 betting companies, just in like marketing and just maybe like I had one entry level role where I was taking bets at a race course, and you see all different walks of life, but it's definitely it's like anything like alcohol. It does have addictive tendencies. Like you get addicted to the feeling of winning, and you're talking to someone that's like a big not a big gambler, but that's my biggest bet was betting on the US election one year, and I thought it was a guarantee. Like I'm cleaning up here, and then Donald Trump lost, and then
how much did you lay down on the bet?
I had about 30 grand on the Don. I thought there was no way that Joe Biden was losing. Yeah. Well, it was a build up over like the year. It was like a contest between not contest, but like all my mates and a few other people were like, yeah, there's no chance that this bloke's winning. Like Trump's $2, and he kept blowing out further and further. I was like, this is just like an investment, and then it just kind of got out of hand. But like, it's just easy. It's easy. I think it's easy for people to get addicted to that feeling of winning, and your bet sizes slowly start to increase and increase. But yeah, no, it's definitely not the most moral industry.
Jeez, I'm still sitting here just going 30 grand on Donald Trump, bro. Fuck.
Stupid, very stupid. If I had my time again, there was a point where he was winning, and I could have hedged my bet, and I thought like I was like, I don't know, hedge my bet, like I've won. He was like he came into like $1.10, and I was like, one of my uncle was there, and a mate had called me. He's like, you probably want to hedge. I was like, bro, the thing's over. I'll just go to sleep. Wake up the next morning, and he was losing. I was like, oh geez. But I don't know. Norm Macdonald, he's a famous comedian.
Yeah, I know, I've heard him.
He was a chronic gambler, and he would always make jokes about how, he goes, sometimes he would, or there was this iconic story about him once. He won massive at a casino or something like that, and he threw it away. And he was like, I'm just going to lose it. He threw it in the ocean.
No shit.
Yeah. He was a big poker player, and loved betting on sports from me watching the Norm Macdonald show. But like, it's funny because it's My brothers love it. Like we bet on rugby league and different sports, but yeah, no, to a point where now it doesn't get out of hand. The Donald Trump was an anomaly, and it was we were looking at it as an investment, and it was a bad one.
That's insane. I heard from somewhere, I can't remember where I heard this story from, but years ago, I think it was like in the 70s or 80s, Kerry Packer was in a casino, and there was this Texas guy at the table he was at, and he was going, "Oh, my ranch is worth 100 million and blah, blah, blah." And just kept on going on. And Kerry Packer just turned around and just went, "Okay, no worries. Here's the coin, heads or tails for your 100 million." The guy's like, "What?" He goes, "I'll put 100 million on the table right now. What do you choose, heads or tails?" And
Nah.
this loudmouth guy just looked at him and went, what? Excuse me. The guy just quickly just backed the fuck away from Kerry Packer.
Mate, yeah, no, I don't know. There's something about gambling or people that are ultra wealthy, like loaded, and like them being risk takers, and fun, like funny, like crazy gambling stories. I don't know. I feel like that's a thing. Because I mean, if you get to that level of wealth, you got to be willing to like, roll the dice here and there.
Yeah, yeah. Like I've got a few mates that like will sit there and go, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna stop past the pub and have a beer and play the poker keys before I go home." I'm like, really? You have to stop at the pub to
Yeah,
go
I
and
couldn't
play
do
the
that. I couldn't. I don't think I'm that much of a junkie, but I mean, like, um,
No,
I never got. I never kind of got around the pokies. I feel like it's mind numbing. My grandmother, on the other hand, she loves it. But I mean, like, uh, I can't. I'd rather bet on sports or something to watch. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like I years ago when I used to be really into like UFC and stuff, like I bet on like UFC fights and shit like that. And I actually was spewing because like you remember the fight Ronda Rousey got knocked the
Lost.
fuck out,
Yeah,
yeah,
he was
by
in
Holly
Melbourne.
Holm. Yeah,
Yeah.
by Holly Holm. I was gonna put money. I was in line to put money for Holly Holm to win via knockout because it was just a ridiculous bet. And it was like I think it was in the first round as well as the second round. I picked the round and everything, and I was with my wife, and she was like, "Did you put the bet on?" I said, "Nah, it's probably better on it." I was gonna put like $50 down, some shit, and it was like paying like fuck. I think it was like a couple of grand, so it was something not 30 grand, but it was something decent in return. But I missed that bet. My wife's like, never let me live that one down.
You win some, you lose some, mate. You're telling me you've never taken a bet because you can bet on wrestling. Sports better taking bets on wrestling now. It's big in the UK, US. You can bet. I know it's a fixed outcome,
Yeah,
but you can kind of get a look. You don't even have to look at the dirt sheets anymore. You can see who's favorite to win the next Royal Rumble.
I know, bro. I think that's next level of marks. Like, yeah, I've seen the gambling on the wrestling and shit like that, and it's like, yeah, $13.10 for the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Like, man, if I worked in WWE or knew someone, I'd be like, hey, man, who's going over in the match?
Oh
Like,
yeah. But I think betting companies they're like not smart to it, but they would never take a massive bet on it. They would just limit their liability, and they'd be like, yeah, they take like maybe $500 max on it on The Rock to come back and win the Royal Rumble.
oh, really? So, like, do they? Yeah, they'd have to have some sort of like.
Yeah.
Bet on
That's how a lot of people that work at gambling companies know the result of something. Because if they see a lot of money coming in for like the Bachelorette or something,
yeah.
they know who's winning because obviously the person that's won has gone and told them, yeah, I've won, or like who's finished top 3, and they'll be like, yeah, jam me for top 3, and then you kind of get a gist of who finishes higher or who wins.
You know what? I fucking love that show, the Bachelorette and the Bachelor and shit like that. I think that's fucking hilarious. The fact that in 2022, in such a society that we live in, where we're so progressive, where women are so cool to sit down and watch 16 other chicks live in a house and fight for the one dude, and all of them just fawning over this guy. Like, I mean, to me, it doesn't actually reek feminism to it, like a lot of extent, but like,
Not in the slightest. Yeah, geez. When you think about it like that, but there's way too many of them nowadays. There's like, and they all just got like, they're all similar, but they're all, like there's one on Binge now. It's like F Boy Island, hosted by Abby Chatfield. Love Island, Bachelorette, Married at First Sight, Mum Swap. Like, that's fucking like, it's just a lot of like, It's just saturated now, reality TV.
Oh man, but you know what? Like nothing beats reality TV from like the early to mid 2000s when we had like Rock of Love, Flavor of Love, and just like the real like just greasiest shit ever. Like it was just out there, and it was just so easily accessible that it was
Yeah.
just so terrible.
Yeah, like I don't think they were as. I mean, now they've reached a level of probably the only things that people watch on TV. But at the like Big Brother and shit like that is not the same. Like no one or like Survivor, people were watching it way more back in like 2000s and 90s.
Oh, but the back then Big Brother people were like doing like all sorts of weird and fucked up shit. Like they had to do an after dark show just to show people like borderline like banging on like
Yeah,
television.
yeah, they did. Yeah, that's where we were. You can't do that anymore on TV
Oh mate, like
without consent. Without consent.
but it's funny, like, because it's like over the years of entertainment on television, like it was like so extreme. Like, if you ever go back and watch something from like the 70s and 80s, like a show like Kingswood Country, which was a massive Australian show, I think in the late 70s, and it's
Mm.
like the main character is like this World War II veteran in his like late 50s, early 60s. His daughter's married to like an Italian guy, which he calls the Wog. And like, you know what I mean? Like, just basically like out
Yeah,
and downright right. Like, the son in law walks in and goes, "Oh, g'day, Teddy. How you going? G'day, Wog." Like, and I was like, what the fuck?
that's hilarious. I mean, I don't know. Even like it's even like Attitude Era or like early 2000s. If you go look back, there's so much out of pocket stuff. I'm pretty sure there was like a. I always see like the memes about it, but like and Eric Bischoff introduces like this, the lesbians come out, and then
Oh,
like you
lesbian
know what I
action.
mean? Like yeah, so many out of pocket things, or like the Rock's probably try to scrub so much shit off the network of him, like saying the most craziest shit, but like I don't know, it made that era what it was. And it'll probably have a resurgence too, because if we go too far politically correct, it's like, no, we want to go back to, how it used to be, just like no one cares and everyone's have a bit of fun.
But bro, like it's funny because like I think like back then, like I remember being like a teenager watching the Attitude Era and seeing like, and I've said this before on this podcast, where like you see Stone Cold Steve Austin come out with the gun and put it to Vince McMahon's head, like, and then the bang sign came out. Bro, me and my buddies were like watching that shit and going, "We're gonna see a motherfucker get iced on national
Right, on TV.
television. He's gonna fucking smoke him out." And we
Yeah.
were disappointed when that shit did. Like, oh man, he didn't pop him. Fuck.
I mean, what about the Pillman, like the Brian Pillman one? That one looked like legit.
That
The
hit hard.
Pullman Stone Cold one, that was gun. But like you get none of that now. None of it. They try and like sometimes blur the lines, but it's never. It's kind of like too PG.
I think it's hard as well, like for them to do like a controversial angle now because I think like man, people would just go and complain online and it wouldn't even be able to get legs underneath the angle before they could get to the payoff, which might be this most progressive, rewarding payoff. But the people were just like, no, we're so offended by this. We don't want to see your storytelling. And in the world of professional wrestling, it's funny because it's like, if a professional wrestler goes out and cuts a certain promo and says offensive things, is it any different to, Brad Pitt playing a role in a Quentin Tarantino film where he's playing a fucking, a Nazi? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, that's how it should be looked at, because it is. It's like a soap opera. But I mean, yeah, people can't blur the lines. Like, mate, the JBL, some of JBL's old promos are actual gold. Like they're hilarious. And like there was
That'd be
no
the war.
way he could get away with that now. Or like the Muhammad Hassan character, how over that was. And obviously they like pushed the limits with that. But there's no way they're doing anything like that now. Like, how do they not have an Andrew Tate type character on WWE television? Like, how over would that get, right? But it's just like it's publicly traded company, there's sponsors. Like you said, there's going to be too many people complaining. But it would be so much better if they kind of had like actual creative freedom. It would be hilarious.
Man, it would, but I think like, you mentioned Muhammad Hussein. that character, bro, like that was a guy who was basically victim of his own success and hard work.
Mate, he's an Italian bloke. I think he's a school principal now. Like
Yeah, he
that,
is.
the character work. I remember growing up. I thought he was a terrorist. Like that, and like they had to take him off because it was like something that coincided with like the Boston bombings or something like that. But I don't know. He was so over, and as a heel, like it was good heel heat.
It was, man. I think, yeah, and like, but even then, like, I think he was feuding with like the Undertaker,
Undertaker, yeah.
and what happened was he had like these guys in balaclavas come and like kidnap the Undertaker and run him back, and it was like they had
The
like
Taliban. I think it was the Taliban.
yeah, like they had that sort of shit, and it's like, but that's the thing, man. Like, you can't like,
You should be able to separate. Like, okay, this is a TV show. They're playing off the things that are happening in real life, but it's a TV show. It's like nothing different from Sergeant Slaughter, being Mr. America fighting, the Iron Sheik. Yeah, like it's the same, but maybe it's too close to home for some people. But it's a TV show. It's like you
yeah.
can watch Homeland on Netflix, but you can't watch, Muhammad Hassan. I as a wrestling fan, I would say it's play on, but in the world we live in, it's not.
But it's interesting because it's like the fans itself, like I've been to so many shows where fans will like jump up on the ring and try and get in the ring after, and it's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, you don't go to a play and jump up on the fucking stage at Broadway. You know what I mean? Like, you don't jump up on the red carpet next to De Niro and go, "Hey, move over, Bobby." Like, but people have this thing at wrestling shows, which they just, I don't know if it's fake, like false center balls or whatever the fuck it is, but it's like, I feel like wrestling doesn't get the same respect as a lot of other entertainment value.
No, it doesn't. Not in the like this era. Maybe like 90s. It did like that period after the 80s. Because in the 80s, it was seen as like kind of legit. But as I don't know, people more see it as fixed and thing. But I don't know. I was actually having this discussion the other day with someone that what would you rather be, a UFC star or a WWE superstar? I'd take WWE every day of the week.
100%.
But I was making the argument that they're just as athletic as UFC fighters, and they had, the person I was arguing with was like, no fucking, you're talking about like people trained in combat. I was like, man, have you seen some of the stuff that, wrestlers do, or like they're doing it daily? They're putting their bodies through like hell, taking bumps. Like, it's not just all, this is a fake TV show. It is like, and they're traveling all the time on the road. They got to be jacked, at least in the Vince McMahon era. But like, yeah,
you have to have a level of, you have to be fit, you have to be ring fit, you have to look good. You know what I mean? Like, when you're at that level of WWE where you're getting paid to be a performer, you are paid to look a certain way. You are paid to conduct yourself a certain way. And that's why that life isn't for everybody, man. Like, it's very grueling and demanding on them, Like, look at the past generations of like guys that are probably in their like 50s now. How many of like their friends died in their 30s or their 20s, whereas we're seeing a lot less of that.
Sorry, I was saying they're definitely adjusted to like maybe like sports science, because it's probably like in the 90s, 2000s, everyone was just like on steroids and taking shit care of themselves. Whereas now there's like, people training properly, doing, stretching properly, nutrition's probably crazy good. They take better care of themselves nowadays for sure.
I think like they're more aware as well, like of concussions and, no chair shots to the head, that sort of stuff. And, preventative measures, I think, is probably like the best output for it though.
Yeah. And they don't like bleed anymore, like just getting what is it, bleeding? They don't know on blades. They're very cautious.
They do in AEW.
Yeah, but it's still frowned upon, like masturbating on it. No, it's like, remember when Cody Rhodes took a chair shot to the head, and everyone was like, everyone loved Cody Rhodes in AEW, but it was like everyone turned on him pretty quickly when he did that. I was like, why would you do that and risk that? And he came out and like apologized for it.
But it was a gimmick chest shot. The one he took from Sean Spears that sliced in the back of his head.
Yeah, but legit sliced him.
Yeah. But it was like, that's because it would, like, it wasn't supposed to, but it was actually
yeah.
Shot. He hit it.
It was supposed to be. Yeah, it was supposed to be a work, but it ended up going badly.
Fuck, man. Well, you know, it's what wrestling is, man. Like, you know, shit goes pear-shaped in the ring sometimes, and you know, guys get hurt. You know, that's why it's like it's not for everybody. There has to be a level of fitness on what the guys do. But you know, do you see yourself being around the Aussie scene more and announcing at more shows?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I want to kind of venture out, you know, I got to get the reps up, got to get the announcing up. But yeah, I feel like maybe even from a social media standpoint of, you know, doing promos with wrestlers or stuff like that, or you know, promoting shows in a funny way. I think I could fit in there somehow. You know, like I did that thing with Xena, and you know, it did fairly well. Like we did like a chop off.
I saw that one.
Yeah, so like just stuff like that, man. You know, because at the end of the day, I'm just a big fan. I'm a mark, but yeah, if I can contribute and kind of build the resume up, yeah, why not?
100%, man. Well, there you go. We'll start seeing you around some more shows, but it is that time of the show for 60 seconds with Piers. How this is going to go, we're going to fire a bunch of questions at John Bernard. He's got 60 seconds to answer as many as he can. Are you ready for me to start the clock?
Hit me, Piers.
Okay. Which wrestler would you love to go out drinking with?
The Undertaker.
Home barbecues or nightclubs?
Home barbecues, Lebanese barbecues.
You have 24 hours to spend $2 million. How do you spend
it? 24 hours. Casino.
Plain fairy bread or fairy bread with Nutella?
Plain fairy bread.
Who would play you in a movie about yourself?
I get the guy from Mr. Robot. I don't know the actor's name, but apparently, yeah, we got the same bad nose.
Which politician would you sit down and share a beer with?
Either between Donald Trump or current Kanye West or Ye.
What is the shittest present someone has ever given you?
Toiletries bag.
What is the shittest gift you've ever given someone?
Necklace from SeaWorld.
And last one, in 5 minutes' time, you're being shipped to outer space. What two personal belongings do you take with you, excluding human beings?
Oh, two personal belongings. A notebook and iPhone.
There you go. That has been 60 seconds of Piers. John Bernard, thank you for coming on the show, man. It's been great talking with you in this hour, man. We definitely have to try and get you back on for a part 2. But where can everyone follow you on social media and start supporting your channels?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, John Bernard K. Got the YouTube, the JBK show as well. And then, yeah, I'm looking to, you know, start up a Twitch going into 2023. But yeah, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at John Bernard K.
There you go, guys. Make sure you go follow. Also, thank you very much for our sponsor, Sleeves. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. But until next time, we'll see you again very soon. John, appreciate you coming on, guys. We'll see you soon. Peace!